Hello and welcome to Soaring Higher Rocks, formerly Transformation Academy. And today we're going to talk about triumphing through transitions. We all go through transitions from the time we're born, and many times it's tough. And so sometimes we all feel like our ship is sinking. If you were a ship, do you feel like you're sinking sometimes? And so I want to talk about that today and ways that we can rise and go forward into the port that's our destination, where we really belong. You know, when you think of a ship is actually a transporter. It's propelled by power, navigating through new waters and new locations. And so that's what we're going to talk about today and then the next program. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker Kraft with Soaring Higher Rocks. And we're going to just really have some fun today, but have some thought-provoking things for you to work on to get propelled into your new port, your new direction. And so I want you to think of that caterpillar again that I like to talk about so much. When it's a caterpillar, it really literally melts down into a pile of goo in a skin. And boy, how many times have we felt that way, that we've just melted and we're all in a little shell and life is just kind of really stomped on us. And yet, that caterpillar says, I am no longer the same, and blooms into that beautiful butterfly that is strong and has really strong wings. And that's the same with us. So declare right now, I am no longer the same. I'm going forward. I'm going to my new destination. And so I'm going to take the pieces of my life. If I have a lot of pieces in my life, I'm going to take them and I'm going to redo them and I'm going to sew them into my strong new wings so that we can get going forward. So you can soar higher than you ever thought, because that's what you deserve. And remember that. Nobody's words, nobody's opinions has the right to tell us what we deserve or what our value and our worth is. And so remember that, you deserve it. And I want to share a letter with you. It's actually called Move Forward, You Are Mine. And it's God's love letter to you right there watching. And it says, you are my creation, for my works, for my glory. You are the apple of my eye because I have made you. Remember, he's made you in his image, which is perfect. It always is. You are my child. You are strong. You are bold. You are beautiful and you are brave. Don't hesitate, for I made you perfect. You are ready. Cast out fear and move forward boldly. So now's your time. Move forward boldly, no matter what's happened. You know, so many times because of a trial, we run into a time where we have to start over again, and it can be very frightening. It can be scary. It can be really tough because we're so familiar with where we are right now. And I remember one of those times many years ago when I was Mrs. Nebraska and was at the Mrs. America pageant, and my husband was dying of cancer, and it was really a tough time, even though it was supposed to be a beautiful time. And so I remember exactly a year to the day later, I was sleeping on a rock floor in Haiti covered with bug bites as a widow. And so I know just in that one example, the trials, the triumphs we can go through, but if we're going to find something good in that, what that is usually during those miserable, dark, and desolate places are the times where we learn the most profound lessons that we can take with us the rest of our lives. Many of those greatest lessons in lives are learned during the tough times. And so think about that, so we can recognize them and then we can use them for good and to go forward and to not backtrack into those same patterns or same things that happened, but to go forward and to soar higher. Think of one of those times in your life where that has happened. What have you learned from one past experience that was not a good experience, but that made you stronger? Think about that. What made you stronger from that incident? Did you end up getting a dream job because you said, enough of this? I'm tired of working these kind of jobs. I'm going to go out and get what I really want, what I deserve, what I love to do. So think about that. Did you leave a bad relationship and now you're in a really good relationship because you learned from the bad one what not to attract the next time? That happened to me more than once. And so I want to really encourage you in that. You can find good in the bad and move forward. So are you now in a hobby or a job that you really love because of a past experience. Because in the past experience you found out that you were a good negotiator, that you were a good coach, that you were a great parent that could work with children. What is it that from that past experience you found now you can take those skills and abilities and you can use to help others? And you really can. I saw a lady last week who was really messed up. She was drunk, she looked needy, she was so sad, and it brought back memories of my own life. And so when she held out her hand to give me a high five, I gave her a high five and smiled at her and said, "You are loved, you are special." And so take those experiences and really help others build up their lives as well. Much greater appreciation also helps. So let's look back at all the things that we aren't maybe going through now and how much more appreciation we have in life. I appreciate so much a hot shower, food in my refrigerator, a roof over my head, things that I learned in Haiti. Although I didn't want to go there, it was a great lesson of what life really could be like. And so sometimes when I would get down and I'd feel depressed and I'd feel like, oh my gosh, financially I'm in a mess. I don't feel like anybody loves me. Where am I with my job, with where I'm living? And so I would think of all those things and it was like, no. Appreciation and gratitude is what really brings people more good things because they're drawing them in, they're pulling them in, they're magnetizing them by who they are and the kind of impression that they're giving to others. I remember just from having a brain tumor and a jawbone tumor and numerous surgeries that I've had, and yet I could think, you know, things could be a whole lot worse. So I am very grateful. I'm showing lots of gratitude for where I am now. Still fighting, but so much more grateful. Lost a husband, went through a lot of abuse, and those are all things that I can take now and I can help other people with them and be so grateful for everything that God has given me. And you know, if you can think, you can see, you can hear, you can walk, you can eat, those are things to really be grateful for, no matter what else is happening around you. And they will lift you up when you think about those things in gratitude. So always remember that when you're going through transitions. You know, I love the picture. It shows a butterfly soaring, and it says strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought you can't do. And so think about that too. Every time you do something that's a goal, that's something that you want to do, and you face that fear and you've conquered that fear, more strength because you did something you didn't think you could do. Even riding a bicycle or driving a car, sometimes we get afraid of that. But no, keep going. There's so many events that can hurl us into the deep, depressing time. It could be death, divorce, illness, job loss, you or a loved one relocating somewhere else, physical, mental, verbal abuse. There are so many things that can bring us down. You know, maybe we lost our home. Sometimes people lose their cars, all of that because of a crisis that happened in their lives. So one of two things is going to happen. Either we give up and settle for less and settle for the crumbs, or we break those chains because we don't want to be stuck anymore in that place that we are in. I know what it feels like to be stuck, like our feet are stuck in cement. And no, this is your time to soar higher. You know, again, like I shared before, from a very early age, I just had something trigger in me the fact that I was worthless and I was no good. And from the time we are born to the time we're about 7 years old is when we really make patterns, determine who we are. Those words, those things that happen to us many times can affect that person the rest of their lives, either for good or not so good. I've seen so many incidences of people, and even myself, who pretty much destroyed a lot of my life feeling I was no good. But I've seen other people in stories who grew up in foster homes or grew up in places where they had a lot of struggles, and yet they overcame them and became very victorious and great jobs and powerful education because they were not going to let those little things that were trying to plant themselves in here take root. And that's what we need to do. So even though I had self-defeating behaviors and sabotaged myself, I finally realized that no, we don't have to stay there. We are made in God's image. We are valuable. We are of such value. And I want you to remember that because you are made in God's image. Do you know how strong that is? Do you know how powerful that is? Ask Him to show you what that means. I've had to say, Father, please help me see myself through your eyes. Or help me see another person who's hurt me through your eyes. And honestly, that can give you so much strength and restore you and give you a whole different perspective than you had before. I encourage you very much to do that. You know, I lost my son for most of his life growing up, and now we've been miraculously reunited. But again, that was a tough time. But you hang on, you hang on, you hang on. So through all those situations, know that the more burdens that we carry, the more our wings go down, the weaker, less motivated, the worse we feel. And we want to be able to strengthen our wings. So always think about that. I saw a post that I thought was so nice, and it shows a person just holding their hand out like this and saying, at any given moment, you have the power to say, no, this is not how my story ends. And that is so true. You know, I talked to a lady last week, and she's been married for 33 years, has a good marriage, and things kind of started going a little bit strange, though, one time, and she's into more heart-mind, not really ministry, but business and working with people. And so she said that although they had a great marriage for a long time, her husband started being mean. He started being belligerent and kind of nasty and uncooperative. And so she literally, because she's into the heart-mind connection again, put her hand on his heart and said, I love you, I want to be with you, but this person cannot come in. I thought, oh my gosh, what happened? And she said, changed like that. And they went back to having a very good relationship because she would not accept that person that was trying to take root. And it moved him into realizing what he was doing. And so sometimes we have to be a little bit bold like that and stand for what we know is right, stand for what we know is valuable, what we are valued to be. And so sometimes it's kind of scary to stand up for something, but I want to encourage you to do that for sure. You know, think of seeing a cat walking across the floor. And then right next to it, because of the lighting, think of the shadow that the cat is casting on the floor. I have a picture of that, and it's really profound because what it shows is the little cat walking across the floor, but then it also shows this powerful lion in the shadow. And that's what we are. There's so much power in us that we don't see, that we maybe don't feel, but it's there. We are that powerful lion. And so we have to pull ourselves out of that. And it's really a neat picture. What it says is deep inside of you is more strength than you've ever known. And that's true. Ask God to give you the strength, show you the strength that you have, because it's in there. So people can say things to us, and that can hurt us, and it can take our strength away. And then we think, no, I'm really not worthy. I'm not strong enough to overcome this battle or handle this thing. Well, when someone says something to you, or does something to you, either positive or negative, that seed tries to plant itself within you, within your heart, within your mind. It does, and that's how it happens. It tries to plant itself in the soil of your life. And at that very moment, you determine whether you're going to let that seed plant itself in you, or you're going to go, not me. I don't receive this. Just like that lady did with her husband. That's not acceptable. You're not coming in here. You're not coming in here, seed, because you're trying to hurt me, and you don't get that chance. I will not allow you. We allow things to happen, whether we realize it or not. I didn't realize how many things I allowed to happen and come into my life. And so it can take root in us and grow into a self-sabotaging weed. And then what do? We quit everything we started. We get into bad relationships, confirming that we're no good. So many things that aren't true. So if we dwell on what was said or done to us, then we're watering it, we're fertilizing it, that damaging seed. So it's like, yeah, well, I guess I am no good. Well, I guess I am stupid. That's what my father said. Well, I guess I am fat. That's what my sister or neighbor said. Well, I guess I'll never accomplish anything because I'm not bright enough, or I'm not smart enough as my sister, or as capable as somebody else. So therefore, I guess that's true. Well, it's not true. That's a damaging seed that needs to be dug up and uprooted right now from your life. Because otherwise, again, you are stuck. Stuck in what? Stuck in soil that is destructive to your life. And so stop it every time. You know, that happens several times a day. A lot of times, especially when we're first fighting, it can happen over and over and over again that we're having to pull out those destructive seeds and go, whoa, wait a second. No, I'm God's child. I'm smart. I have the mind of Christ. I am able, instead of listening or thinking to what someone else's opinion had of you. You know, so many times we compare ourselves to other people. They're smarter, they're better looking. We compare what we consider our liabilities to what we consider their assets. No, that's not true. We've all been given very good, solid things, brain, mind, abilities to go forward in. And so switch immediately when you hear that thought, when you catch that thought, listen for those thoughts, switch them immediately into positive thoughts and blessings because they're out there. Think about what God's word says about you. You are his beautiful child, and nourish those good seeds, because the more you nourish the good seeds and you know that you are valuable and worthwhile, wow, you've created a whole new reality, and it just keeps going forward more and more. You know, I love the picture too. I love pictures of a little tiny ant, and it's holding up a big twig that's much bigger than the ant. It's like, well, how is this little thing doing that, holding up this big twig that's so much bigger than it? Because no material in the world is as resilient as the human mind, and obviously in the ant's mind as well. Think about that again. No material in this world is as resilient as the human mind. Our minds are so resilient. We can bounce back and forth from things that happen to us, but we always go forward. Every word or deed can either encourage us or damage our spirit. And you know that from things that people have said to you, whether the good or bad. Did it encourage you? Usually they say it takes about 20 positives to overcome one negative, that something happened or someone said to you. So think about that, how important that is. You know, you think of the old Wizard of Oz movie and how Dorothy kept trying so hard to get back home to her aunt and uncle and with her dog and to be in her familiar family and the people that she loved there. And she struggled through the whole Wizard of Oz movie to get back to it. And then at the end, when she had her red slippers on and she was in the balloon, and Glinda the Good Witch looked at her, helping her get back home, she said, "My dear, you've had that power in you all along." Think about that. You've had that power in you all along too. And when I came to realize that, I was like, oh my goodness, it's always been there. And so when I think of why did I live all those destructive years, that's something I can use to help other people not do the same thing. So think about that too. You know, relationships will affect us from the time we're born, obviously, starting with parents, and we start creating new patterns in our lives from that. And patterns are designs, and they can cause us to look a certain way, give off a certain impression, things like that. So we have those patterns and we create those, but we can overcome those. I've seen a few videos now of people too, I can think of, that are men in particular, no arms, no legs, not even stumps for prosthetics. And one is an international inspirational speaker. He has a wife and 2 beautiful children, no arms, no legs. The other one is a football coach, no arms, no legs. So again, they did not let the fact that they had no arms and legs and all the bullying and the abuse and everything they suffered, they did not let that tell them, oh, you have to sit in a corner and die. No, they said, I'm going for it. I have the brains, I have the heart, I'm going forward. And think about that. There were people, I remember seeing a couple pictures of different men and children. I've seen them of children too, no legs, but they have the prosthetics legs that have the metal bottoms to the legs, and they go on races. They run in races. There was a guy recently in Omaha who did a triathlon with 2 of those metal legs on. He did not let that get him down. I've seen people play the piano, play the guitar, drive cars, no arms. Okay, that's pretty tough. But they weren't going to let that get them down either. Recently on America's Got Talent, I saw a young man who is autistic and blind, and he astounded everyone to the point they just were floored, because when he started playing the piano and he started singing, you would think this was an international music star. Blind, autistic. He didn't let that get him down either. The lady that was also on that program and some others, an Asian lady, a beautiful lady, when she was younger and playing the violin, an accident happened and it literally tore her arm to the point it had to be amputated clear up here. Again, she didn't have anything to put a prosthetic limb on. She said, no, my heart, my life is playing my violin. So there was some sort of metal apparatus put on her shoulder, and she would go like this, and she would jerk it around until she could flip the bow over onto her violin, and she would move her shoulder back and forth, and you would not believe the astounding, beautiful music that came out of this violinist with no arm whatsoever. So again, we can triumph through tragedies, through transitions, if we set our mind to it and move forward. Because those transitions can be major, minor. It's up to us what we allow, what we don't allow, what we're going to focus on, and what we're going to push away and say, you're not coming in here anymore. So, as I like the quote that I used to say before, if you're not being treated with love and respect, check your price tag. Perhaps you have marked yourself down. It's you who tell people what you are worth, what you will accept, by how you will let people treat you. So it's, okay, I agree, or no, I don't accept that, because I know I'm better, and I'm going forward, and I'm going to soar higher. So if you feel like that's where you are on the clearance rack, get back behind the glass where the valuables are kept, and know that that's where you belong, right there. You know, there's a saying that is so true. People treat us the way we treat ourselves. And so I've told people that so many times in business training, in corporate training, and it's like, okay, if we treat ourselves like we're insignificant, like we don't know very much, like, we don't have much value, like we can't compete for this job we really want because, my gosh, we haven't had the same amount of education, or we haven't had this or that, or we came from the wrong side of the tracks. No. Stand up and be powerful and be strong and know that you are worth it, and treat yourself with respect and that you are so valuable, because people then will also treat you the same way. I think I shared in a previous message about, I remember several years ago when a girl was competing for Miss Teen USA, and she was a foster child, and her foster mom bought a $39 dress and decorated it up a little bit. And this girl won Miss Teen USA in a $39 dress. And I was so proud of her, because she didn't let the fact that she didn't have a real mom and dad with her, or the fact that she had a dress of several $100s less than everybody else, affect her. She won because she was strong and she knew her value no matter what she had experienced from her life up to that point. Same with us. Learn to value yourself, because otherwise no one else will so often. And it's always wonderful when we show someone who has no value that they really do have value. And so I went to see that lady again that I saw that was so messed up and drunk and sad a couple weeks ago. I want to see her again, because I want to just show her what a valuable, beloved daughter of God that she is, and that she can go for her desires. She doesn't have to settle for less. She doesn't have to settle for crumbs. None of us do. And so be where you want to be the rest of your life. Start now by what you're thinking, what you're focusing on. And another picture I have, it's probably one of my very all-time favorites, is showing a little dog chasing a rhinoceros. Now, I don't know what this dog was thinking. The dog could be thinking one of two things. Hey, I'm running after you because I want to follow you, because I just think, wow, you're so strong, and I'm going to show you I'm just as strong. That little dog could be thinking, hey, get out of here. You're not what I want. You're not what I need. So scoot, and I'm going to chase you out of here. So there's this little teeny dog chasing this big rhino. And whatever, it's all about attitude. What is our attitude? You can start changing the world around you when you start changing what's within you. And so think of that stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone in us that causes us stress, and yet when we can reduce that, we lower our stress by 25%, which is pretty powerful. And so research shows that positive body language can decrease that cortisol by 25%. So often we think our body language reflects how we feel. Angry, sad, scared, whatever the case may be. Yes, that's true. Our body language, which is how we look, how we dress, how we act, is saying how we feel. However, we can turn that around. Psychologists have said the reverse is also true, that changing our body language can change our attitude. And that's so true. If you can feel that impact in your body. If you're angry and you're scared and then all of a sudden smile. I've done this so many times. Honestly, if I just stop and just put on a big smile, it makes me literally feel better. And so you can change how people see you, change how you feel, and even how your situation is affecting you by straightening up your shoulders, put your arms out if you want, like you're, hey, I'm strong, put a smile on your face. It really works. It can change how you look, how you impact the situations around you, and how people see you. Okay, so in our next program, we're going to finish this on triumphing through transitions. Again, I'm Rita Rocker Kraft, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.